Welcome to the first onboarding webinar #1 for Gee Whiz Education. This is the first of a series of 4 webinars that we've created to help you learn how to utilize the Gee Whiz curriculum. It's also great for those of you who've been using the curriculum for a while to go back and just refresh. It's going to be 30 minutes or maybe even a little less, so we're going to move quickly, but we will record the webinar and it will be posted. I'll show you where on our website. That is also where you will find the link to the post assessment where you can complete that and then get your certificate of attendance. So with that, I'm going to get moving. What we will be covering in this first webinar are the following. How to log in and access the Gee Whiz curriculum. This is super important because Gee Whiz is digital. Everything we do lives on our website. What the components are included in each unit and how you're going to be using them. That is also quite important, and who you should contact if you have questions. These are the main concepts we're going to cover in this very quick webinar. So again, we are recording it so you can go back and watch it because we will move very quickly. Speaking of contacts, if you have questions about the curriculum, here is my email. If you have questions about your account, that you will reach out to customer service at geewizeducation.com. Let's say you're having issues logging in. Let's say you're having issues you want to change from maybe a monthly payment to a yearly payment. Anything related to that, you would reach out to customer service. If you have a question about, look, well, in the curriculum, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to use this component, or I'm having issues trying to figure out how to connect the dots. You can reach out to me and I will write back to you and then point you in the right direction, because we have a lot of resources on our website and sometimes it can just be a lot to dig through. So with that said, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to end this quick little PowerPoint here and we are going to go to the Gee Whiz website. So I am at geewizeducation.com. This is where you're going to go to get your curriculum each month. We post the units they're up for about 45 days on our website and then they will be taken down. And so you want to make sure we'll send you an email when we post new units. We'll send you an email when we're going to take units down so that you can remember to download, save, and back up all those files because they're so big. They have so much, you're going to see that. They have so many graphics in them that to email them is it's just not an option. So please be sure when we send out those emails that say, hey, new units are posted, or hey, units are coming down, that you make sure you've backed up everything to your computer. And I have a Gmail account, so I have Google Drive. I back up all mine to the cloud. So whatever works for you. Some people use an external hard drive, some people use a flash drive, just something so you have an extra copy and in case, God forbid, something happens to your computer. Okay, so like I said, I'm on the Gee Whiz website. I'm just going to log in like I would if I was you, if I was a customer. Most of the time, that's going to be your email address, and then you'll just type in your password. Let's hope I remember mine. If I didn't, you see down there where it says lost password, you can reset your password at any time. And we set this up so that when you log in, you are automatically on the unit pages. This is where you will find the new units as they're posted. All we're going to do is scroll down. I'll show you in just a second. But this is where you will go automatically when you log in. There is a short video right here that you can watch if you forget how to access the files. So you just click the button here to watch that. So there's something you can also do. You can watch that, or you can click the Getting Started, which is a PDF that has step-by-step screenshots of how you do exactly what I'm going to be doing right now, just in case you forget. Or now you can go back and watch onboarding video #1. So we're going to scroll down, and right now we actually have 4 units posted because we're in what we call our crossover time. So like I said, we post new units on the 20th of the month, and we take them down on the 5th of the month, 45 days out. So for instance, the September units would have been posted on August the 20th, and they'll be removed on approximately October the 5th, give or take. So again, you want to make sure you download, save, and back up the files before those dates. There's a unit description over here, and then you're going to see these 2 buttons, English and Spanish. We do have our family components, like our family letter, our all about my week reports, our digital family notes. Those are in Spanish if you need them. If you don't have any Spanish speaking families, then you can just disregard that button. But if you do, that's where you will find those components. Now I'm going to click on English. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through all the components that are included in the first Gee Whiz unit of the month. In this case, it's for September of 22. This would be the same no matter what month it was. The units or the components themselves stay the same month to month. It's just there's a little bit of difference between Unit 1 and Unit 2. There's a couple components in Unit 2 that are not in Unit 1, and there are a couple in 1 that are not in 2. So that will all become clear, I promise. So this gives you a little description of the unit, and then you just scroll down, and you're going to see a whole big long list of files. All right. The majority of these are PDF files. Some of them, the only exception, are going to be our digital family notes, which are a JPEG file, which is like a photo on your iPhone or your smartphone. And I'll explain that in a second as well. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to open all these files, and you're going to save them to your computer, tablet, device, whatever device you're using. Now, some of our providers like to print things out, and I'll show you how you do that. Others prefer just to save it to their tablet and view it there. It is totally up to you. There are very few components that you absolutely must print, and I'll tell you what those are. So the first component is, of course, the biggest component. That's our teacher's guide. So you simply click it to open it, and it should look like this on your computer. If you're on a Mac, I'm on a PC, it might look a little different. And depending on the version of Windows or whatever you're using, it might look a little different, but basically it should open and look the same. You do have to have Acrobat Reader on your device to be able to open a PDF, but these days most computers come with that automatically loaded. So talking about saving and downloading, over here on the right, you're going to see this is where I would click to print it, and this is where I would click to download it to my computer and save it. Okay, now printing. As you can see, it's in color. You can choose to print it in color. If you do, I would highly recommend changing it to draft mode, which uses a lot less ink. If your printer prints front to back, this document is set up to print front to back. If not, that's okay. It'll print just one page per sheet. You can also, if you want to save ink, change it to black and white, or what they call grayscale, which would mean it would just print it in black and then shades of gray as opposed to printing it in color. Again, you don't need to print it at all. You can download it to your computer or tablet and then simply view it there, which a lot of folks do. Or, like I said, if you prefer, you can print it out. These documents, the teaching guide, somewhere between 35, 38 pages. It really depends on the unit. It depends on how long the story is within the teaching guide. It depends on if I've added a lot of what I call goodies at the end. So bottom line is it's going to vary from unit to unit how long it is, but that's just a guideline. Your teacher's guide will always start with an introduction, and it has a table of contents. It also reminds you to look at the materials list for things you're going to need to gather or prepare. And then in our next onboarding webinar, we're going to talk about these program symbols for the developmental areas, but I just want to touch on them briefly because the Gee Whiz curriculum covers 10 developmental areas for all ages. And these are the symbols we use in the lesson plans that correlate to each of the areas. So like I said, our next training webinar is going to go into more detail on this, but I just want to let you know this is always here. It's in every unit. It's on the second page, just in case you forget what those symbols mean. You also see that some of our activities have this for get moving, meaning it's a gross motor experience. You might see a sunshine, which means it can be done or should be done outside. And then the CE is for character education. We build character education into our lesson plan. So if you see this symbol, you know that you're addressing character education. The next page goes through the whole entire unit. A lot of providers will print this out and display it so families will know what you're doing for the next 2 weeks. Our school age experiences are down here in a separate box. You can choose to do that, or it's just to give you an overview of what's planned. And then we get into the lesson plans. We're not going to spend a lot of time because that's going to be onboarding number 2 when we talk about the 10 developmental areas and the skills. But I want to give you just a very basic overview of how a lesson plan is laid out in the Gee Whiz curriculum, and this is just day 1. So you're always going to have the unit name, the focus of the unit, and then this is a cumulative list of all the skills you're going to cover if you do all the activities we have planned for the day, okay? And you can refer back to that list on page 2. Then we have a health and safety every day, a teaching tip every day, and a transition idea every day. That transition idea is something that you can do when the children are physically moving from one spot to the next. So for instance, today is to recite the rhyme, families are different. So you could recite that rhyme when the children march or march and clap or just move from, let's say, inside play to outside play, or from lunchtime to getting their nap materials ready, or whatever. We also have vocabulary to enhance your interactions with the children. These are words we want you to use in conversations with children today. And there are more tips about that down here. So it's not words you're going to print on an index card or anything like that. You're just going to use words like together and members and family as you talk with children today. Then the each day also has what we call our exploring together. Exploring together is like a circle time, but it's not a circle time where you're just going to talk and the children are going to listen. It's truly a time when you're going to explore together. You'll see the list of skills that are addressed during this unit. The first bullet tells you why you're doing it, and then it just basically walks you through how the activity will work and questions, open-ended questions to ask as you're engaging with children during that experience. Sometimes there's an extension, which just means an idea on how you could take this exploring together a little bit further. This is not in every one of them, but it is in some of them. And then the second part of the day, you'll see these 2 pink experiences. A lot of times these are activities you can set up as center activities or free choice activities that the children can choose on their own. We consider a lot of this guided play, meaning that we're providing the ideas on how to set up the environment for learning, and then the children will take it in any direction they want. So for instance, with a home for a family, we're suggesting to give them, access to a folding table or even your kitchen table, clip type clothespins, blankets, bed sheets, plush animals, and they can build their own home together. And so they're going to take that in any direction that they want, but you're going to provide them with the materials to get them started. And then this one is in fact adapted for different developmental levels. We'll talk more about this too, and what I think it's onboarding webinar number 3 about how you can adapt and individualize, but just know that there are adaptations within the lesson plans for different developmental levels, not necessarily chronological age, but developmental levels. So, a child that's functioning as a 3 or functioning as a 2 versus their chronological age. And then the purple experience is for your infants. We thought it was really important to include activities for infants that are different and apart from, the things you'll be doing with the other children. So these are one-on-one experiences that can be done with infants. Doesn't mean your other children aren't going to join in. It just means they're designed for infants. So that's just one day. There are 10 days in each teaching guide. And then after those 10 days, as I scroll down, you're going to see that we also have school age experiences or after school experiences. These are for those children that you might have that come after school. In some cases, maybe you have them all day. A lot of folks are now homeschooling, so it could be you have them all day and they're with you all day. So these are experiences for those children who are ready to go a little bit deeper, a little bit further. It gets more into letters, letter sounds, reading, advanced math. All of these can be extended for more than one day because these children are older and able to do that. They can carry things over from one day to the next. There are 6 of these within the lesson plans, and I'll show you where there are some more as well. Then after that, you're going to find directions on preparing or the text for your story. In the first unit each month, there is a story, an original story. It has story props that go with it. This one just happens to be a riddle book. If there was text for a story, that text would live right here. In this case, the text is actually in the book, but it tells you how to prepare it. And then it also, if the text was here, it would give you text as well as some ideas on, if you scroll down here, how you can use those story props in different ways. Then we move on to our Make It sheets and our Let's Read Together book. You will not find color cut and paste sheets in the Gee Whiz curriculum, and that's intentional. You will, however, find what we call Make It sheets. These are sheets that are designed to, you can use them in your program, but then they're designed to be used at home for family involvement. So for instance, a home lotto game. You can play it with the children when they're with you and then send it home and they can play it with their family at home. Then same thing here with the My Bedroom sign. This one is great for those children who are beginning to learn to write their name, because they'll write their name on there, and then they're supposed to draw a picture of their bedroom, or they can dictate something they like about their bedroom. Obviously, toddlers 2s, 3s are not going to be doing that, but even scribbling to them is writing. So we explain that here in the directions. And then each of our units has a Let's Read Together book, and I'll show you that in just a second, but it is another tool to send home for family involvement. You simply print it out, cut it apart, staple it on the left-hand side. You can use it in your program as you want, and then send it home for more family involvement and family literacy. We also in each teaching guide have a page that's dedicated to experiences for older preschoolers or more advanced preschoolers. This is again for those children who are ready to talk about letters, letter sounds, more advanced math. These are in the back of each teaching guide just to give you some ideas for those children who you might have in your group. Then we have this piece that connects every single activity in the teaching guide to the specific skills or learning indicators that are tied to it. Again, not going to get into a lot of detail about what exactly this is right now, because that's going to be our next training webinar, but just say this is where you can find out how each activity addresses specific skills. In the Gee Whiz curriculum, we cover 40 skills, which we call learning indicators, and that's what these codes are tied to. These codes are also tied to our state alignment charts, just so you know. Spills over to the second page here because the school age just didn't fit. We offer a book list, so if you want to go to the library and gather books or look at your own library, you can gather books that reinforce the unit. Any original songs and rhymes and poems would be found in the back. And then remember I said something about goodies. Okay, so if there's an experience in the teaching guide that I feel I could give you something that would be helpful, I do that. In this case, the children, I believe in one of the experiences, are going to be using blocks to build a home for families. And these are people figures that if you didn't have people figures, like plastic people figures, you could cut these out, tape them to blocks, or even paper towel rolls or whatever you have, and they could use them instead. So you might find these at the end of each teaching guide or something similar. So that in a nutshell, in a very quick nutshell, is the teaching guide. So we're going to keep moving. The story props, in this case, we saw them in the teaching guide. It is the riddle book. They could be flannel board pieces. They could be stand-up pieces. They could be a scene that you add things to. They vary from unit to unit depending on what we're doing. But in this case, it's a book. So in this one, this is something you would need to print out. One component you would absolutely need to print out is the story prop. So you print this out, stack, staple, and then you'll have your book ready for your story time. The materials list is extremely helpful. This helps you know what you're going to need each day for each of the experiences. Things in red are things you just might need a little extra time to gather or locate. So for instance, a backpack or a small suitcase or envelopes. We try to use things you're going to have around the house so you don't have to go out and buy things or gather things. And if you do need to buy something, we usually find things that you could get very inexpensively at the dollar store. That's also a great way for family involvement, is to ask them help collect some of those things. And on the last page, it tells you exactly what you're going to need from them, and they can always help you look for these things as well. Okay, so the materials list included with each unit. Letters and literacy. This is a tool to help you with children who are ready to talk about letters and letter sounds. We don't do letter of the week or letter of the day. Instead, what we do is we take the experiences included in the teaching guide. So for instance, this activity, Families Are Different, which is found on page 5, and we tell you how you can incorporate a letter in a meaningful way, in this case, the letter F. Sometimes there'll be multiple letters, sometimes there might be one letter. It just varies, but there are usually 6 or 7, usually 6 of these activities in the Letters and Literacy booklet. Add and enhance gives you ideas of things that you can add to the different areas, interest areas or centers in your program. We know that a lot of you are in home, so this might be put in a plastic tub and you can get it out and put it away at the end of the day. But just ideas of things you can add to your art area: dramatic play dress up, blocks, literacy and writing, gross motor and movement, manipulative science and math. And there's one of these with each unit as well. Connecting the dots. This is going to be the topic of our onboarding number 4. This is a tool that helps you connect every activity in the Gee Whiz teaching guide to specific learning indicators or skills. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because we're going to do that in onboarding number 4, but just know this is a component that is included with each unit. It is very extensive. It will also help you connect to your formal assessment. The provider's review is something that you can use for yourself, just to say at the end of each unit, okay, well, which experiences did my children like the best, and if you did it at unit again, how you would you do it differently. The School Age Fun booklet is some more experiences again for school age children. We started this during COVID. We've continued it because we have providers that please ask us to please do so. So it has 4 additional activities for your school agers plus a printable at the back. The customized, I'm not going to go into the Word doc or open another file, but I'm going to go in the PDF. The customized individualized lesson plan sheet is, again, something I'm going to cover in depth, and that will be in onboarding number 3, where we talk about how you can document your individualizations. We know that it's really important for some of you, especially those of you working for higher star levels, to be able to document how you individualize. So this is a tool that will help you do that. It is available in a Word format, so you can type in the boxes, or PDF if you prefer to write. The observe and reflect grid is for helping you record and then document your anecdotal notes and observations. This is again something I will go into depth with our, I believe it's onboarding number 3 and number 4. We're going to touch on this. So just know this is here. So if you need a tool to help you document your anecdotal notes and reflections, you can print this out, and you can print as many copies as you need, because this would be for each child as many times as you do observations. The All About My Week report is available both English and Spanish. It's a simple tool to help you document for the families, what's going on with their child. You would send this home on a Friday. I would encourage you to make a copy of the completed form before you send it home and put it in each child's portfolio. Then at the end of the year, you have a nice running record of their interests and the things they've been learning to do over the course of the year. The family letter is also available in English and Spanish. This is great because it's a PDF. You can send it home via email if you prefer. There are ideas for them to do at bath time, meal time, when they're out in the car or traveling, and at bedtime, and usually there's a song or a rhyme. Plus it just gives them a great overview of the unit, and it's also available in English and Spanish. The individualization web, again, not going to get into detail on this. This is going to be for onboarding number 3, but just know this is a tool to help you integrate each child's interests or special needs into the unit. So yet another tool to help you individualize. Digital family notes, these are the few files that, like I said, are more like a photo. So you would save these to your photo roll or your picture file, and then you could even text them to family members. This is a great tool for family involvement. There's simple, easy things they can do at home to reinforce the unit. And there are 2 of these, so I'm not going to open both. The Make It sheets, I'm not going to open the files. We saw these in the teaching guide as we did the Let's Read Together. But these are things, again, you can choose to use. They're not written into the lesson plans, but they are designed to promote family involvement and also help you reinforce a lot of different skills, like with the Lotto, obviously visual discrimination, language, diversity. So again, I'll go in just to make it number 1. If you wanted to print it out, you would print a copy for each child. We just ask that you do not print more than 12 copies of any of these things because that's the maximum for the Gee Whiz curriculum. All right, so that is unit number 1. To go back, or I could pick up, there's a button down there I could push to go to unit number 2, but I just want to show you really quickly, there's 2 different materials in unit number 2 each month, and they are the teaching tool takes the place of the story props, which is right here. And in this case, it is some vocabulary cards that we're going to use as we talk about different instruments, because children may or may not be familiar with them. And then we also have a puppet. And if you scroll down, you'll see printable puppet. I believe his name is Marco in this case. We give you directions in the back of the teacher's guide how to prepare this. So this again would be something that would need to be printed. So the difference between the 2 units in terms of components is really just those things. The first unit has the story props with the original story. The second one has the teaching tool and the puppet. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I've gone through all the units, all the materials for these 2 units. And so again, you just want to make sure you download them, you back them up, you save them to your computer so that if something happens, you have a copy. Now, what I want to do next, because we're going to be wrapping up onboarding number 1, and I know we moved really quickly, but like I said, we are recording this, so you can go back and you can listen to it again, you can pause it and really take it in. But now that it's as soon as we get it uploaded and recorded and uploaded, it's going to go under this tab, training and support, onboarding training webinars. And you'll just click here, and then you'll scroll down and you're going to see all 4 of them, but we just did webinar number 1, accessing Gee Whiz and understanding the components. So if you wanted to watch it again, you would simply click Watch Now. If you need a certificate of attendance that proves you've had this training, you'll first need to complete our post assessment, which you will do right here. The link is not there yet. It's not set up yet, but it will be very soon. So if you're watching this, by the time you watch it, it should be there. You will simply click it. You'll do the post assessment, which is no more than 10 questions. At the end of that, when you hit submit, pay attention. There will be a URL that you will block and copy to then print out your PDF of your certificate of attendance. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to customer service at geewizeducation.com. So again, just to review how I got here, after I went to training and support, I went to this tab, onboarding training webinars, and I simply scroll down. And our next webinar will be webinar number 2, where we're going to talk about the 10 developmental areas and also the 40 learning indicators. So there's going to be a series of 4 of these. And if you watch all 4, that's 2 hours of training on the Gee Whiz curriculum, which for most states is exactly what they're looking for. So hopefully you have found this helpful. Again, if you have questions, you can go back to the beginning of this webinar where I have my email, which is bsmith@geewizeducation.com for questions about curriculum, and customer service at geewizeducation.com for questions regarding your account. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up, trying to keep it just under 30 minutes. I hope you found this helpful, and I look forward to having you join us during onboarding webinar number 2. Thanks. Bye.